So on the panel here today, we have from the team, I'm just going to do a quick intro and then we'll get into the questions and queries for the team. We have Mohammed Al-Sahli from Arabian Chain, which is currently based in Dubai. I think it's the first blockchain solution provider in the region. And then we have Yehia Badawy from Rain, who is a partner at Rain, which is a cryptocurrency exchange, licensed by the CBB, based in Bahrain, and also based in FinTech Bay. And of course, we have Craig Lunn from BitOasis, who is, I believe, the first crypto exchange provider, which was launched in 2016 out of the UAE in Dubai. So thank you all for joining us. And we'll just go, we'll do a quick round just to give us a brief intro on from your side, and then we'll get into the question. So Mohammed, if you can go first, please.
Hello, everyone. So my name is Mohammed Al-Sahli. I'm the founder and CEO of Arabian Chain, and also the founder of Palmix, founder of Withaq, and CEO of those as well. So it's it's a fun story. Originally a software engineer, dealt with banking for a while, and then jumped to Microsoft for a while, and then decided just to do my own thing. The whole journey of blockchain started back in 2011. Was interesting days. I remember precisely, basically, one of the banks in Saudi Arabia where I started. As a new joiner at that time, they just, I was bothering them with a lot of things to do. Anybody just, fresh graduate or just started to work. And to keep me busy, they told me, okay, just go and do an innovation lab of sorts. So just, go and do something. Don't bother us anymore. So at that time, when I discovered, the whole idea of Bitcoin and, the paper of Satoshi Nakamoto and, the way that he solved the double spending problem and proof of work and the whole thing about that. So as excited as I was at that time, I decided to buy some. At that time, it was, I think, 2011 April time. I think $3.50 per Bitcoin, something like that. It was a very long time ago. And at that time, there was not BitOasis, no Rain, not much others actually. I did it through an escrow through Bitcoin Talk. If you know, it was a fun story at that time. Tried to involve the bank in it, but it didn't really happen. And then tried to involve the central bank in it, and they gave me the best reply ever, which is no reply. So and then decided, okay, you know what? Let's do it ourselves. So here we are.
Okay, thank you very much, Mohammed. Mr. Yahya.
Thank you, Fawaz. By the way, Fawaz is one of the biggest experts on blockchain in Bahrain.
No,
so if you have a chance to chat with him, that would probably be a good idea.
Not too many questions, please.
So yeah, great to be here. My name is Yehia Badawy, co-founder and partner at Rain Financial. We're a cryptocurrency exchange based in Bahrain. We're actually based in the Bahrain FinTech Bay. So we understand how much work went into this conference, and we're happy to be a part of it. For us, the story started around 3 years ago when myself and my 3 other co-founders, Abdallah Al-Mu'aykal from Saudi Arabia, who is in the audience today, and AJ Nelson and Joseph Delago from the US, we all got together and we found that there were no licensed or regulated exchanges in the region. And we always believed that that is a key cornerstone of having a successful and reliable cryptocurrency ecosystem. So we worked hard and we spoke to several central banks in the region. I'm not going to name any, but we were invited in February of 2017 by the Central Bank of Bahrain to give a presentation around the Bitcoin and digital currencies, and we were then invited to join the sandbox. We're now in the sandbox. We've been in the sandbox since December of last year. So we're coming up to a year, and we're just excited to continue growing our presence in Bahrain and in the region.
Thank you very much, Yahya. Mr. Craig Lund.
Perfect, yes. My name is Craig Lund. I'm the head of operations for BitOasis based in Dubai, and then we've also had the opportunity to join the sandbox as well here in Bahrain. So really excited to be a part of this event. As BitOasis being the first exchange, first mover in the region, we've always put in the forefront regulations and building that framework. For a while, we've had to self-regulate, but at this point, it's nice to see government bodies moving towards the formation of regulations, and being able to be a part of that in the region here is something that we're looking forward to.
Perfect. Of course, just to mention that the Central Bank of Bahrain was the first bank or the central bank in the region to provide a license for cryptocurrency exchange. I think that's a great step in the right direction, which enables us to actually move on into and adopt this amazing technology, which is also an investment platform for others to adopt. So let's get on with the questions here. In the cryptocurrency system, Yehia, in your view, what is happening? What's developing in the cryptocurrency space currently?
So we've been involved in this space one way or another for quite a long time. I mean, I first started transacting using Bitcoin in 2012, and it was a very different landscape back then. I would say today, or what we're noticing, is more people are aware of this technology, partially because of the boom and then decline in price that happened in end of last year, early this year. But what we're seeing is more awareness and more regulators that are willing to look at this new technology as a new and a more efficient way to transact and to store value and to transmit value. We're also seeing more interest from institutions. So prior to 2 years ago, if you spoke to institutions, I come from a banking background. I used to work for an investment bank here in the region. And when I told my friends about this in 2014, they were laughing, they were making jokes, and today they're willing to have conversations and they want to talk about this. And I think it's just indicative of how the industry is evolving. You have the key cornerstone of any industry is having all parties involved have regulation and being able to understand the limitations of the technology and how it can be utilized. So we're seeing a lot of interest from the institutional side as well.
Perfect. Great, thank you. And Mr. Craig, your response?
Yeah, absolutely. I think exactly what he was mentioning earlier. As you come into this space in its new technology form, in any space that's new, you have to be the educator when you're being one of the early adopters. And so we've found that in the most recent years here, that institutions, government bodies are starting to come around from the standpoint of what it is that we're trying to accomplish, what we have in place from a system standpoint to be able to meet those regulations. And so I think it's just continuing to help educate the consumer base as well as various bodies and institutions. I know that early on, when BitOasis was founded in 2015, the next resort is you got to go secure a bank account. Well, now you're trying to secure a bank account as a digital asset exchange with no regulatory function around it. And so to be able to do that, whether you like it or not, you are at the forefront of education and being able to educate the financial institutions. And luckily enough, Ola, our founder, had that foresight in mind and made sure to self-regulate around areas such as AML, KYC from the beginning, so that when you go and meet with those institutions or government bodies, they're able to understand that you do have the proper protocols and systems in place to be able to be secure and to be able to really eliminate the concerns that the space had in its early years.
Okay, perfect. Okay, I'm just gonna shift a bit. Maybe a lot of the audience were thinking about this. Today, if I'm a GCC national, I can open a bank account in Bahrain, and I'll be able to link or open an account with Rain, and I'll be able to trade and make a purchase of Bitcoin or Litecoin and so on. Is that correct?
Yes. So if you're a GC national, as you say, we have a pretty easy sign-up process. You go through the sign-up process, and once your account is verified, you're able to buy and sell a multitude of digital currencies, all with a very seamless experience. You can also do it through a mobile app or the web app. And then you know that you're using a regulated exchange where we have all the security and other elements in place to ensure that the funds are secure and to ensure that you have a nice time doing it.
Nice, perfect. And Mr. Craig, the same thing? I'll be able to. Can you elaborate on that with your platform?
Absolutely, yep. Very easy sign-up process as well. We've made sure to automate the process as much as possible. But absolutely, as GCC National, you're able to sign up onto the platform and be able to purchase digital assets through that platform as well.
Okay, perfect. Okay, just to clarify with the audience, we all know that cryptocurrency is highly volatile and it comes with high risk associated with it. We've seen that before in the last year and beginning of this year, the volatility in Bitcoin and Ether. But one of the biggest advantages, and the panel can correct me here if I'm wrong, the biggest advantages of a cryptocurrency or buying or investing in crypto is it's not prone to inflation like fiat currencies are. Like we all know today, 10,000 BD today does not have the same purchasing power as it did back in 10 years or 20 years ago, right? Because of inflation. In the cryptocurrency world, this is not the case. When you're buying in the cryptocurrency, you're not bound by the inflation that devalues that currency when you go forward over the long term. Yahya, can you elaborate on that a bit?
You're rustling a lot of feathers there, Fawaz.
Yeah, but of course, there are advantages, disadvantages as well, as we said. But this is one of the reasons why the demand for cryptocurrency purchasing or trading increased throughout the last couple of years. Now, of course, there are security risks, which we will get into in the next questions. So, in the event of cyber attacks and cyber threats, what can you tell us, Yahya, about the security measures that are being taken with your platform?
Absolutely. And so going back to your earlier question about the trends and how the industry is changing, what we've seen is, in a few years back, it really was the Wild West when it came to exchanges. And I think some people didn't do enough due diligence when it came to securing customer funds, securing transactions. Rain, as a company, we view ourselves as a security company first. So first and foremost, we always think about how to make sure that the system is secure, the client's funds are secure, and that they are able to transact in a way where they know there is no risk of their funds being misplaced, lost, or of any of those things. And the way we do that is we have different security audits in place. The system is designed to prevent any authorized access in terms of two-factor authentication. We're CCSS compliant. So we've taken it upon ourselves to upgrade the infrastructure in the region here to make sure that nothing of that sort ever happens.
Perfect. And Mr. Craiglan, can you tell us your security measures?
Yep, absolutely. Same thing with the two-factor authentication. Starts there. And then when you look at the securing of the funds, it's about having the proper policies and procedures in place when it comes to how much is held in a hot wallet versus a cold wallet, and being able to have those things protected, and being able to go through the audit assessments and understanding that you're getting an outside opinion that things are secure. So we've gone through that process as well, and then it's all around making sure that those procedures are monitored, checked on an ongoing basis, not only internally, but by a third party, and that you're following the proper protocol there.
Okay, perfect. Excellent. Okay, just one last thing. In the event of the current cyber attacks on banks and everything else, many banks now adopted a cyber insurance policy to protect their assets as well as their customers' assets, right, in the event of an attack. Is that something that's being considered in the crypto exchange world? Is it being maybe even studied or analyzed? That could be a possibility, would you think, Yahya?
So I would say that the industry is growing in terms of the services that are available. So for example, you have a leading bank last week announced that they have authorization now and they have a service dedicated to cold storage systems. Okay. So what you're seeing is the traditional safeguards that existed in other industries, including banking, are now becoming more available to companies in the digital currency space. So what we expect to see is, as insurance companies look for different ways to grow, that's probably going to drive them to serve this market. And as the digital currency market becomes a force to really reckon with, it's just a matter of time until an insurance product comes out. And of course, as a company that's always looking after customer funds, we would be very interested. So if there's any insurance folks in the crowd that want to talk about that, please reach out and we'd love to talk more.
Thank you, Yahya. Craig, can you elaborate a bit more the difference between why is cold storage more secure than hot storage?
Yeah, so cold storage is an offline storage capacity that allows you to protect the currencies. So that would entail, for example, being stored on something that's never been accessed online, to be able to eliminate the trace and penetration that could come from any type of cybersecurity at a high level.
Versus hot storage?
Versus the hot storage, which obviously would be an online access.
So basically, you should not store your private keys on your mobile phone or on your laptops, naturally for you to be able to access those funds because it's more prone to risks and security attacks. Cold storage is like, as they said, it's completely disconnected from the network, so it's not prone to attacks. So in both platforms, they are offering the cold storage as an option on their cryptocurrency wallets for the customers' accounts. That way, they keep your account secure. Is there a right percentage, 99.5, can we say, security on your platform?
Say that again, I'm sorry.
99.9% security on the platform, we can say? Is there a percentage?
I don't know if I could put a percentage, but that one sounds good, yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, so we're going to shift a bit the topic of discussion to blockchain and what Arabian Chain can offer in the blockchain space. For Mr. Mohammed Al-Sahli, can you tell us a bit more about the features that Arabian Chain offers as a solution?
So just to speak, in more general terms about, Arabian Chain, it's basically, a platform for smart contracts and decentralized applications. And it started as basically a fork of the bigger Ethereum network. So, it's kind of what happened with, Neo targeting basically its Chinese market with their own interpretation of Ethereum. And that was the same story for us with Arabian Chain and the fuel for it, which is the Dubai coin, DBIX, of course. So that's been said that, we started developing a little bit of tools to help people, deal and interact with smart contracts. We started with something called the Arabian Chain Studio, which is basically a what you see, what you get tool to build, certain types of smart contracts in, existing templates. Something like, what we call the ERC, 20 tokens, and now we introduced the ERC 721 tokens, of course, as what we call, non-fungible tokens, and this is one of the new things that, that is out there. One of the other things that we do is, we try to make the term really sound or do exactly what it says. We talk about smart contracts, but, smart contracts, they're not actually smart, they are immutable. But to make them smart, they need to have, some sense of, decision-making, intelligence, and machine learning that goes into that. So this is where we are integrating now artificial intelligence with the process of, building these smart contracts. And we were working with the DLD in Dubai, showing them how you can basically, automate the full process of, renting or selling a property and learning from that experience, for the future. Part of the other things now, Arabian Chain kind of, evolved into being an innovation house, focusing on basically, the latest technologies, specifically on blockchain. So underneath that, we have Palmex, which is basically a digital, cryptocurrency exchange as well, licensed from the, central bank in Bahrain. And then we have what we call Withaq, which is focusing on the capital markets and standardization automation of the issuance of what we call sukuk products or bonds. And this is an area where we see this platform by itself will has a secondary market trading features that will be an exchange as well, but it's not a cryptocurrency exchange. It's more a security exchange, which is it's kind of, a different game. And I think, the region still, lacks that, the security token exchanges or the tokenization of securities, from different financial instruments in general.
Can you tell us some, let's say an example of a use case of a smart contract that either you guys are working with or you worked with in the government in Dubai?
So there are, the smart contracts are just like programs, so you have millions of ideas and applications. What we develop is the tools that allows you to build your own specific smart contracts. But some of these cases, for example, we were talking about, basically the co-ownership of an asset. So it's like a building or a house. And how are you facilitating basically the ownership of all those people who are involved in that, and how the smart contract is not one smart contract, it's multiple smart contracts working together to ensure that, the ownership and the flow of transaction is very fluid without the interference, of any third party. And these third parties that exist today, like, government services and, government entities, they can be just, as observers, and they have like a node or something to witness what's going on in the system. So that is one of the ideas that we work on. Many of these are not up, to us to tell the customer what to do, but it's up to the, different entities, different governments. Some people focus on payments and transactions. Some people focus on ownership. Other people focus on insurance. One of the latest ones that we built is through another venture of ours. It's called Planet Pegasus, which Planet Pegasus is part of our new venture. It falls under something called Flamingo Skies, which is a creative design studio creating non-fungible token collectibles, something like CryptoKitties if you've seen them. And these are like 3D printed horses, so they're like tiny little toys. You can do 3D printing for them, and that 3D printing process is registered on the contract as well to ensure that this is the authentic version of the printed one online. Okay. And the beauty of that is the value of these things actually go up and down depending on how many times it was 3D printed. And it's only permittable per one time to print it per owner. Okay. So if you do a 3D printing, you cannot until you transfer the ownership to somebody else. Now those types of things, they live on a smart contract. They're cute, and now we've worked with a designer that was working with Gucci to design certain like interesting elements to do that. And
so actually that's an amazing point.
Yeah.
So one of the use cases of a smart contract is the following, and many designer companies are starting to do this now for authentic and counterfeit goods. For example, if you want to go and buy a Rolex or an expensive designer label watch, what they're doing now is that watch, when it's manufactured by Rolex, it's going to have a blockchain transaction on the network. And so what happens is when you go and you scan the QR code of that watch using the Rolex app, it'll confirm to you that this is an authentic and original watch manufactured by Rolex. And the same for designer labels for handbags and LV and things like that. So these are the kinds of applications that we're going to see with the smart contracts, right? It gives you transparency and trust. The same concept is going to start, and we're going to start seeing it being implemented on car parts or manufacturing car parts like Lexus and Nissan and so on, because they want to avoid having counterfeit goods being sold, right? So this is the kind of way that you can actually use blockchain to benefit the people, the consumer, when they buy something that's secure and you feel transparency and trust. Also, let's take another example. Let's say me and Yehia, we own a house together as a joint account, right? So that house is rented. It's generating 1,000 BD per month, for example. In a smart contract world, what happens? The split 500 BD goes automatically into our personal accounts. We don't have to go and sign an agreement or sign a check to remove the funds from the joint account to our own personal accounts. It's automatically done. You don't have to go to the bank and sign, let's say, a notarized form to get that to happen, right? You don't need that intermediary. It eliminates that possibility. So that's how you can benefit from some of the smart contracts options going forward with different applications.
Absolutely, I agree. And the beauty of it is not just to use the technology in a silo. It's basically what you can do, with blockchain technology, 3D printing, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and the changes that is happening, in societies and the thinking process. Because one of the main issues with defining actually today, something like the blockchain technology, we're bound by the term technology, and everyone thinks that, it's just a technology adoption, which is not true. If you're talking about the broad sense of blockchain, it's, there are, philosophies and concepts that goes into changing the very core of economy or the way we do business in general. And this is talking about decentralized public blockchains, of course. So, it's an interesting thing where you see all of these come together, to create value for people. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, just one question for the entire panel. As all of you came from startup backgrounds, what advice do you have for a new generation of startups who want to venture into as a blockchain solution or either as a cryptocurrency exchange? Mohammed.
Well, the only advice will be just do it. I remember, a very interesting session that we had with Microsoft, and they had us, and they gave us something called, basically the positive mindset or the risk-taking mindset. And at that stage that we're telling us, you have to be more risk-taking. You have to take it now, otherwise we'll just regret it, for the rest of your life. And I was sitting in that session, I was like, okay, that makes sense. Thank you, guys. So, a week later, I'm out, and that was the fun part, which is, it's always the right time, if you decided to be. I mean, don't wait, just forever. If you have that, interesting idea, try it out, and there is no issue to fail. Fail once and twice and thrice, and then at the end, eventually, you'll make it. So, all the best.
Yahya, your thoughts on that?
Sure. I would say be sure not to read too much into the hype. There's a lot of hype around the specific topics we discussed today, but there's also a lot of opportunities that exist. And what I would say is find an area that is of interest to you, that matches your passion or something that you enjoy doing. To give you an example, we love talking about this stuff even when we're not working. So my grandma's 83, and she can give you an intro on Bitcoin and how it works, just because I talked about it so much, and she just loved the passion, and she can talk about it. So we do this even when we're not working, and it's very important as a startup to be working on something that you're passionate about, because this is not 9 to 5. It's very normal not to have weekends, and people glamorize it on TV, or it looks shiny, but it just means there's a lot of hard work. And the biggest advice I would give is to test your idea constantly. Talk to different people. If you come up with a concept, just speak to as many people as you can. Speak to your potential customers, see their feedback. Don't be siloed and build something in your lab for 2 years and then expect the people to like it. Just go out there, talk to the people, and there's a lot of opportunities that exist. And even here in Bahrain, I mean, we call Bahrain home, and for us, being in the Bahrain FinTech Bay, having the support of the Bahrain FinTech Bay, which, by the way, I'd like to thank for a great conference today, and also having the EDB and the BDB and all the other entities that are in the ecosystem providing support. I think this is a great place to start an idea.
Thank you. Craig, your thoughts on the same?
Definitely, yeah. I think definitely make sure that you find something you're passionate in, because you're going to be doing it for a while, right? Every day. And then make sure that you don't give up. You got to have that thick skin, because especially when you're entering into something new, a new space, there's going to be a lot of no's. There's going to be a lot of different directions that you originally didn't think you were going to go down, that you now find yourself going down. So you have to just keep pushing on and finding the solutions and surrounding yourself with good advice and a good team. And
Thank you.
Keeping the goal in sight.
Thank you. Appreciate it. So just to add to the same point, and many of the team here, they've been to a lot of blockchain conferences throughout the Gulf. And I'm sure even on the enterprise world, a lot of you are thinking, okay, how can we get involved? How can blockchain benefit our company? How can it benefit our department? How can I improve my sales, reduce my cost with blockchain? there's no one single answer that you can do it this way or that way. You have to search and discuss and talk about your use case and test it out. You can do a small POC, which will cost you almost maybe nothing next to peanuts, or you can work with different partners in the region who can lead you that way and be able to find the use case to benefit your enterprise and to meet your business case and goals for your enterprise, for your business. All right. Thank you very much, guys. We're running out of time. I appreciate the time and the panelists here to get them here on board. These guys are very hard to get and very hard to obtain. So if you have any questions offline, feel free to reach out to them and ask them any kind of questions you may have. And again, special thanks to the conference providers and the organizers who made this possible, and the FinTech Bay who allowed us to have this session for us to be able to share your questions, to share the input from the panelists and to clarify some of the doubt that you may have either on cryptocurrency or on the blockchain side. All right, thanks guys.
Thank you, Fawaz.
Thank you.